And the House of Representatives has promised to ensure that all remittances meant for government are paid to the Treasury single account in the Central Bank of Nigeria. The other Committee on Identification and Recovery of Public Funds in Financial Institutions and Government Agencies said this during an investigative hearing when 8 commercial banks appeared before the committee to respond to allegations of non-remittances to the TSA.
In view of the fact that EcoBank has neglected the instruction of this committee, of this House, I hereby stand to move a motion for the arrest of Adejo, who came in for EcoBank. I hereby move.
I so second. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motion moved and seconded is that one of the representatives that EcoBank sent to this committee in flagrant disobedience of the rule of this committee that an MD or an ED should come for this presentation, that their staff they sent to us is hereby remanded in National Assembly custody until we see the MD or the ED. Those in favor of that motion to say aye. Aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Clerk, hand this man over. Clerk, stand there. Hand this man over to the sergeant at arms for detention pending the time the MD or the ED will arrive. Madam, you can go and tell your bank what you saw. Now leave us. Let one part of you take this man, keep him under detention until I see the MD of that bank or the ED. This man will be released on the directive of this committee. On no account should I ask for this man and you tell me that he has been released. Take him and bring your face to be closed so that I can give you other people. Thank you.
Okay, joining us now to look at the focus of the 10th House of Representatives and its readiness to perform its oversight functions for the benefit of the country as the chairman, Reps Committee on Monitoring, Evaluation and Implementation of Legislative Agenda, Patrick Umoh. Thanks so very much for joining us on Newsnight. I mean, I came up with a very wry smile there. I thought that the House of Representatives there, represented by that committee, is being a judge advocate in its own case. Is that what the law says?
Well, thank you very much. On the contrary, that's not my view that you hold. He's the chairman of that ad hoc committee. He's not acting as a judge advocate. He is simply handing over the personality there for safe custody, pending when the ED of that organization, the bank, appears before the committee. That's procedural.
Safe custody. Is the bank official's life in any danger?
No,
when you say safe custody here, who is supposed to be, you know, whose custody are criminal suspects or suspects supposed to be in the police, in the hands of the police?
That's an investigative hearing. And so the chairman of the ad hoc committee is conscious about evidences that should be elicited from the persons who have appeared before him. And so it is important to keep the person safe pending when the ED arrives or appears to make statements.
Okay. It's still a very long way to go for
to avoid alterations, really. It is better to keep the person safe pending when the ED appears, and so that the facts can be elicited from the bank.
Okay, that's all right. I don't want to go into the legalese and the rest, you know, like we know that it's been ruled upon severally. The Supreme Court, for example, you cannot detain some of that person in, you know, in place of the other person. But let's leave the legalese. I'll let the lawyers deal with that. It's a long way for the 10th National Assembly, nay, the House of Representatives. You're marking your 100 days. What would you say are the spectacles, the achievements in the midst of, you know, hunger in the land?
Well, for me, like you said, I shouldn't be a judge in my case, but incidentally, I chair the Committee on Monitoring, Evaluation and Implementation of the Legislative Agenda. So I have the mandate of the National Assembly, particularly the House of Representatives, to make comments as such. And so I would say so far so good. We've come a long way as a parliament, though it is 100 days over 4 years, which is the term. But I think the current House of Representatives is so focused in partnering with the current administration of Mr. President to move Nigeria forward. The many aspects of our national life almost needed to be jump-started. And the post-subsidy experience has shown that the trajectory, viewing from the trajectory, we are having it right. For instance, the agenda of the current assembly, the National Assembly, is so clear. We're looking at economic diversification and empowerment. We're looking at education. We're looking at national security, transparency in government, healthcare for all, and security. So those are areas that the House of Representatives is currently looking at so that we can come up with viable laws that can transform the economy and make Nigeria a wonderful place for all.
A lot of Nigerians will say the country is never short of laws, but rather the implementation of those laws. And sometimes you have too many duplications and the rest. Tell us, I mean, you talk about empowerment of the Nigerian people in the face of, you know, the groaning hardship that they are going through. I mean, very palpable, you know, all over the country and the rest. The empowerment of 1 cup or 2 cups of rice. Is that empowerment that is going to redress the hunger in the land?
Oh, well, like I said earlier, if going by the records,
you've been monitoring this.
Yes,
It's part of your committee's duties.
Yes,
is that empowerment?
No, but going by the records, the National Assembly never really had a standing committee on monitoring, evaluation, and implementation of legislative agenda. Then it was very recently in the 9th Assembly that we had the ad hoc committee on monitoring, evaluation, and implementation of legislative agenda. And that spiraled into the current assembly where we had the majority leader of the legislature, that's the House of Representatives, Professor Julius Ihonvere, as the chairman of the ad hoc committee. So I am on record the first chairman of that committee. And the focus is clear. Once we make legislations, we implement, we monitor to see how it is implemented.
The executive implements.
Yes, we look at the evaluations, we do M&E. Generally, to be sure that what we do in Parliament are not lying cold in the law books, that actually indeed the ministries, departments and agencies of government complement our efforts as a Parliament. Because as parliamentarians, we should not be bothered about execution of projects. But then it is also, we don't want a gap or a gulf in between laws that are made and the execution of these laws. You may bring a budget from your ministry, for instance, and then the budget is passed into law, and it is taken back, taken by the executive into the, of course, for implementation by the ministries, departments, and agencies of government. We should be able to look at it. How far has this been implemented? How do we monitor compliance? What's going on really? And how do we bridge the gap that exists in between the laws that are made and the implementations that are made by the executive arm of government?
Well, so talking about the laws,
we evaluate and we implement.
Yeah, talking about the laws and the gulf between you and Nigerians is so wide. Wide in the sense that Nigerians say that legislators think of themselves alone. How do you, resign yourself to the 70 billion naira being budgeted for vehicles and the rest and other personal allowances? Or was it 40 billion naira for the vehicles, then 70 billion for other personal allowances?
In Nigeria, you hear bizarre figures allocated to National Assembly and all that. But Nigerians have to be patient with those of us in Parliament. You see, that's an institution of government. And so it is not you don't run it with charity. It must be funded. And when it is funded, we see we have, for instance, looking at even production of other papers alone, it will cost some good money. You look at even the rehabilitation works that are ongoing, it will cost money. You look at even the stationaries, the facilities we use to do the work. So it is money. And so the sum total for 360 members, the offices of 360 members, including principal officers, and all that will cost money. So yeah, of course.
So you're consuming a very, very massive chunk of money meant for development of the country and the people.
No, that's
just one arm of government.
That's not what we are saying here. We are simply saying these monies are appropriated, and of course, government money you don't take into your pocket. You must retire them, and money is used to do the work. It's not a charitable organization. And indeed, people say these things. If you look at the facilities there for lighting, for all of the things that go on there, you know that it is simply nothing. When you add up and see the multiplier effect of what is going on there, you see that it is actually the real cost. So I don't think it is the way Nigerians, the media, that's of course the speculations that arrive in the media.
Do you call it speculations? If I ask you now, as a federal legislator, what is your pay take home? You've received your salary, right?
All right, I have.
Okay.
Of course, I have.
Monthly.
But it's a public, it's a public issue.
23 million naira.
Where would I get that from?
Okay, now let's look at, accelerating development, in the country, because of Nigeria's precarious economic and financial situation. What kind of ingenuity would the National Assembly be bringing to bear on the executive to, accelerate development?
Well, first is the collaboration. The National Assembly has to collaborate with the executive arm of government so we can drive Nigeria forward. People talk about rubber stamping and all that. If you do not collaborate as the two arms of government, it will be rancorous. But yet, if we have criticisms, then we must be very constructive. We must look at the progress, the future of Nigeria. We must look at the Nigerian people, because it is Nigeria first before the offices we hold. And we're here to serve Nigerians. So for me, I think going forward, we need a lot of collaboration, and we need to make laws that can drive the country forward, that can bring dividends of democracy, the renewed hope as promised by Mr. President. That's what the current National Assembly is doing under the leadership of Mr. Speaker, Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas.
Not a rubber stamp assembly like we saw in the Ninth Assembly, and now 100 days on, you've come up with one ad hoc committee or the other, to carry out investigation, whether of impropriety or non-compliance with the laws, like we are seeing in the banking sector. We are seeing the tango between Oando and the regulator, the NMPC Limited. Yes,
I think this is one aspect that the current National Assembly must be commended for. For instance, we've had so many ad hoc committees. I've been fortunate to participate in about 3 or 4. We have the one for recovery of funds for ITF, non-remittances by even government organizations who are supposed to pay 1% to ITF for industrial training. And then even from the private sector, and then we've done all that, and monies have been recovered for ITF, which is of course government. And then there's the other one that I participated in, the one on international boundary dispute between Nigeria and Cameroon. And I think we're making progress. And then the other one on public auction of property. We take evidence from witnesses or stakeholders to help us drive the country forward. And so far it's been good. The other one is on JAM. Many, like the other one that was reported on petroleum and gas sector. So far so good. And again, I think in terms of motions, resolutions, bills, we've gone very far. We have been at speed to ensure that we make some impact within these 4 years. So I must commend the present National Assembly.
All right, 4 years is a long way away, and Nigerians would be watching and monitoring too and evaluating your performance, that is the performance of the 10th National Assembly. Patrick Umoh, is a member of the House of Representatives from Ikorekpene Federal Constituency. Thanks so very much for joining us on
Thank you
this
very
event.
much.
Yeah.